on how to become an UI/UX developer. Today's webinar is conducted by Mr. Kishore, who is a product designer at Target. He has more than 5 years of experience in design background. He has worked with numerous organizations such as Target, Philips, Greypath, and Zoomka. So guys, let's welcome Mr. Kishore into the session. Sir, over to you.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I'll be taking you through just a basic understanding of UI/UX, whether you want to be a designer or multiple other fields that you want to get into with UI/UX. So you can ask questions if you have any on chat or Q&A, and I'll answer them at the end. So these are the topics that we'll be covering today. So the agenda would cover introduction to what UI/UX is and what the concepts of UI/UX are, like what does UX mean, what does UI mean, and then career paths career paths in UX will be covered, and then prerequisites of becoming a UI/UX expert or a designer, and then how to become a UI/UX developer, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So what really is UX or UI design? So you would have heard this term multiple times in organizations. You might have seen this as a trending career in this current state. You would see a lot of people becoming UX designer, but what does this mean? What is UX and what is UI? And both are two different things, and they also hold two different careers. One can be a UX designer alone, and one can be a UI designer alone. So what UX really means, or what UX designer really means, is someone who is trying to improve the experience of a product for its users. So you're basically improving the experience of how the user uses a particular product, or how the user interacts with a product. So you are basically responsible for designing the experience of the end-to-end of the product. It could be a digital product, it could be a physical product as well. But more on that later. And what does a UI design mean? So UI design basically focuses more on the visual part of the product. So you have the apps that you use on an everyday basis, the buttons, the colors, the fonts, the style that is used in the apps that you use every day. So those fall under UI design. So it basically helps incorporating the research that you've done in UX, and then you try to visually place all these elements on your app or on your product. So UI design mainly focuses on incorporating a visual hierarchy into design for the user to follow. So basically, this visual hierarchy is what guides the user through an application or a product. So UX and UI go hand in hand and are really important in order to achieve the end product. So let's get into details on what each of these mean. So like I told you, both UX and UI are equally important in order to get to the end product. So there are some processes that UX, in order to achieve a good UX in a product, there are some processes that we follow. So that process involves user research, research analysis, design ideation, and execution. So what user research is basically, so you do a couple of you basically try to understand what user you're designing this product for. So in order to do that, you do some primary research. You try to reach out to a couple of users, try to understand what their needs are, how they plan to use this application, or what all do they need in this particular application. So that's primary research. And primary research also involves you trying to do research on some resources that you find online, or try to research the business team itself. So that's primary research. And then there is desktop research, which I just told you. So you could do research on the internet to understand, and see if there are any similar products in the market, and how are users actually using those products and all of that. So that brings you to the competitive research, where you try to compare the product that you're designing with other products in the market and see what they are doing and try to see if you can incorporate that in your product. And then comes research analysis. So based on the findings that you have in the user research process, you basically try to map this out into customer journey maps. So what customer journey maps are basically is what is the end-to-end flow of a user? Like, where does the user start and where does the end user end the experience in the product? And then that is the journey map of the user. And then you build something called personas. So personas are actually very important in the UX process, because this is something that will be used throughout the end-to-end process of a product. It'll be used by designers, it'll be used by stakeholders, it'll be used by engineers. So this is like a reference of a user profile. So a persona is basically a user profile that basically gives you details of what kind of a user you are designing for, what are their daily needs, what kind of apps they use, and what kind of a person they are. So all of these data is actually collected during your user research process, and then they are made into personas for your reference. And then there are empathy maps. Empathy maps are basically you trying to empathize with the user, trying to step into the shoes of the user to understand their problems with the product or the app that you're designing. And then sitemap is again to do with the product itself. For example, whenever you start with an app, you log in and then you get into the app and try using the app. You have a couple of features like notifications, you navigate through the app. So all of that are basically the sitemap of the app that you need to jot down based on the research that you do. And that is the same with task flows and user flows as well. So task flows are based on user tasks. An example of a task would be ordering food with your delivery app, food delivery app. So that's a task. So you need to jot down flows for a particular task. Say, for example, you're trying to call someone with your phone. So you basically go into your contacts and then search for someone, and then you click on the call icon. So this is basically a task that the user is performing. So those are task flows. And then user flows are basically again, they are very close to the customer journey map, where you try to map the flow of the user from end to end. And then you get to design ideation. So ideation is basically based on all the research and analysis that you have gathered. You make really rough sketches, really rough idea sketches, and then convert them to wireframes, like actual structure or skeleton of the app that you're building. And once you have your skeleton, your rough skeleton built, you basically prototype them. So what prototype means is you try to link each of these screens. So there are a couple of apps that are available, tools that are available in the market right now. For example, Adobe XD, Figma, Sketch, and a couple of other design tools that basically allow you to prototype a wireframe, so that you as a designer or the team of designers or the team in the product basically understand the entire interaction and are on the same boat with you during the process. So once you have these prototypes ready, you basically test them. So there are a couple of processes that you need to follow to test them, because testing is important here, because until you test the product with the user, you'll never know that you're doing this right. Even though you might have followed proper user research, proper analysis on the research, and proper user flows, you still might not get it right until you test it properly. So testing is a very important step for iterations. So once you test your prototypes, you basically try to iterate more on your wireframes. So that's what design iterations are. So you try to change the structure and everything. So until this stage, you are not trying to add color or any style to whatever you're doing. So a wireframe is going to be just a very rough sketches, just a skeleton of the product that you're envisioning. So after you've done design iterations and you reach a stage where you feel that this product is good to go, this is a product that the user needs, then you go to execution. So execution is a very important step, because you will have to work in collaboration. So if you're a UX designer, then you'll have to work in collaboration with the engineering team and the UI designer. But if you're someone who does both UX and UI, then you'll have to take up the UI design work. You'll have to transition to the UI design work and then work closely with the engineers and other team members in the product. And you might also have to work closely with the stakeholders of the business or the product because it's their say at the end. And all the design language, the theming that you do for the product, you'll have to work in close collaboration with the stakeholders. So that's about UX. So here on the execution of UX, right, you basically transition to UI design. So what do you do in UI design, basically? So UI design, again, has 3 important steps, which is the UI itself, that is interface design. And then there are design specs and design handover that you do. And then there is execution. So getting the design user interface, that is interface design, you basically try to add the look and feel from the wireframes that you receive or the wireframes that you made in case you're a UX designer. And then you try to incorporate the design language based on the brand values and guidelines that you are working with the stakeholders, and try to create mood boards for themes that you want to say, selection of colors, selection of fonts, selection of layouts, and all of these actually come into this stage of the process. And then you basically create style tiles or say design components for each of these with these theme that you have selected, and also test for layout and responsiveness. So layout is basically how you place certain components in the app. And then responsiveness is basically how the UI that you're designing responds to multiple devices. So it's called responsive design. So basically you will have to design multiple screens for using it on a mobile or on a desktop or on a tablet or other devices, because all these devices are different sizes. And you'll have to try to fit your UI or see to that all the interface design that you're designing fits all these multiple devices. And then after that, you do another round of testing. So this testing is basically after you've done the UI work, you do another round of testing. So this is also very important. And this also involves the same prototype, visual design, and all of that. And after that, you basically try to hand over this design to the developers. So you'll have to create specs of all the components that I've added, like the size of a button, the size of a component, font sizes, color values, all of that, and even icons and illustrations that you've probably made. So all of that has to be part of the design specs that you hand over to the developers. And then you get to execution. So you basically try to assist developers on developing. So you should have basic knowledge of HTML, CSS so that you understand this process. And then there is reviews and more iterations as you go through after execution. So these are the 2 processes that you have that you need in order to get to the end product. So moving on. So what career paths that you can have for UIUX in 2022? So there are actually multiple career paths that you see on an everyday basis, but then what's actually trending in this year, or what you see a lot of people becoming, are firstly, people get into UX management. So UX management is a manager who manages a bunch of designers under them. And they'll be the person who's in charge of the projects that are coming in. And they also try to expand the opportunities for the team in an organization. And then, so that's a role of a UX manager. And then the hierarchy actually goes higher. So from manager, you could become a director, where you manage a couple of managers, UX managers under you, or you could be a creative director who manages everything throughout. And there are also other executive positions in some companies that are very design focused. So you could become a chief experience officer. It's not the usual CEO, but this would be called CXO in some places. And then you could also become a vice president of UX. So this is all the management positions that you could take up. So this is, again, the hierarchy depends on what level of expertise you have in UX design. Okay, so next is the UX designer that you can become. So once you join a company, you would join as a UX designer, and then how the hierarchy of roles that grow are basically you then get promoted to a senior designer, and then a lead UX designer, and then a principal UX designer. So this is the hierarchy of UX positions in an organization. And yeah, and as a UX designer, you'll be an independent contributor. So you'll be trying to expand your capabilities and taking on more complex tasks as you progress through your roles. So the next one is you can choose to freelance. So freelancing is something that you see a lot of people do as UX designers, because it's easier, and also there's so much demand for UX designers as freelancers in the current state. So maybe you're craving the freedom to concentrate on projects that interest you, then you could probably take up freelancing. You don't want to be restricted to an organization, then freelancing is the way for you. So the next is becoming a UX consultant. So once you've probably advanced in your UX career, as say you are probably a lead UX designer or a principal UX designer in an organization, then you could choose to become a UX consultant for multiple organizations at a time. Like organizations or businesses could consult you for business strategies and how they could improve their user base, and how they could improve the traction of users in an application and all of that. So you basically consult you for all the experience principles and UX practices that the clients need for their product. So these are the different routes. And let's quickly get to how to get started as a UX designer. So as a UX designer, you first need to start by picking a product type. So what product type are you interested in? So this is entirely for you to get started. I'm not talking about you trying to land a job, but this is for you to get started in this path. So for first, you try to find a niche, like a product that you're interested in. It could be an e-commerce product like Amazon, Flipkart, or it could be say food delivery app like say Swiggy, Zomato. So you pick your field of interest or a product of interest, and then you pick your expertise. So you try to see what your strengths are. Like, are you good at sketching? Are you good at judging the visual design? So you try to see where your niche lies in. And once you've done that, you try to read up more on UI UX basics. So the process that I've actually taken you through, try to read more on these processes so you understand what these actually mean. And so the more you read about UX and UI, the more concepts that you develop, the more principles that you learn. And then step 4 is get an eye full of great design. So this is an important step, because until you find inspiration around you, you can never be a designer. So try to see UX and UI trends, or try installing new apps that you find, and see how the UI is, and see what the trends are with big companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, and all of that. So keep an eye out for good design, and you will develop interest for design. Then build your portfolio. So building a portfolio might seem like a big step at this point, but then so at this point, I would suggest that you try to solve everyday problems. Try to redesign a particular website or redesign a particular app. Try to get started like that, so that you have something to show on your portfolio, because no one's going to hire a designer without a portfolio. That's the only way to validate what kind of a designer that person is. And then step 6 is read up on business side of things. So try to understand how an organization that has designers work. Okay, try to understand businesses that need UX designers. Like, why do businesses need UX designers? Mostly because they need to increase number of users that use their product, increase the experience of the users, and all of that. So try to read upon the business side of things as well, because that's equally important for you to know. And then step 7, improve your client soft skills. So client soft skills are nothing but communication skill, collaboration skills that you should have. That is very important for you to have, because until you collaborate or communicate with the clients, you will never understand what you have to do in the product. So communication skills and client soft skills are very important when you are choosing a career in UX. And then step 8, start building your authority. So authority basically means you should have a design driven product. Okay, so you should have a say in your product. So your responsibility is to drive the product that is fully design oriented. So you will have, you as a UX designer will have the same say as a product manager. So you are equally important in the team as a product manager, because you are contributing the most in the product. So you should always try to build that authority in that team, so that the team listens to what you're saying, because you are the UX expert there. Okay, and then the next step is to improve and iterate. So try to practice more on how you see things, how you see design, and also try to solve problems that you face every day with applications that you use, or try to make relooks of apps or websites that currently exist. So try to improve, iterate on all of these skills, and that's how you get started. So that's the end of it. You could ask me questions if you have any. So you could either post it on chat or ask on Q&A. Or if you have a really long question, I could unmute you to speak also. So the another thing I wanted to add is, so remember I talked about building a portfolio. So in order to probably get started, I think I could probably suggest a few examples of building a portfolio. So in order to build a portfolio, you need to solve a real life problem, right? So you need to have a problem to solve. So in order to generate problems, there are sites like sharpen.design, and there are fakeclients.com. And so fakeclients.com is a very good example, because it basically generates a random design problem for you to solve. So that's a good place to start. So you will get some experience on trying to solve a design problem there. So fakeclients.com is a site you could probably check out to get started on building a portfolio, or just getting started just to see what kind of problems UX designers solve on a daily basis. So any questions? So I guess everyone's very clear. Okay, I have a question. Which background is required for becoming a UI UX designer or a developer? Okay, so you don't really need a background for becoming a UX designer. All you need is you need to be committed and interested in or have an eye for design. So if you have skills of say sketching, if you are into art, sketching, or if you probably do digital art, so you are very creative in that manner, right? You are probably creative in that manner. So UI UX again is all about creativity. So that could be a plus, but otherwise, I don't think you would need a proper background in order to get started with this. To choose UI UX as a design as a career, you will need to develop all the skills that I mentioned, but I don't think there is a prerequisite background that you should necessarily have. It all depends on what you're interested in and how you plan to take this up. But what are pluses is, if you're an engineer who has knowledge of HTML, CSS, then it's a plus. Is there any programming skills involved for designing and implementing, like technical skills? So for UI UX alone, there is not programming skills that is involved. But if you want to take it to another step of becoming a UI UX developer, where you try to assist your engineering team, then you might need to pick up skills in HTML and CSS. So HTML, CSS basically helps you build the front end of any product that you're building. The front end is basically the look and functions of a website. Say, for example, a website is built entirely on HTML and CSS. Okay, any website that you see. A web product might involve other programming languages, but a basic website involves just HTML and CSS. So HTML, CSS could be an added advantage if you pick those skills. But otherwise, without HTML, CSS also, you could be a UI/UX designer in the field. Any other questions? All right. So if we have no other questions, I'll hand it over to the career advisor. Okay. So there is another question. So is there any websites for which we should take inspirations for design? So inspirations for design, you could take it from Dribble. So Dribble is a good source for inspiration. And there is also a site called Awards. So basically they give awards for the best websites and web applications. So Awards is another site that you can look at. And then there is another browser plugin called Musli. It's spelled as Muzli. Musli is a web extension that you can use to get daily inspirations on design. So it's like, so you just go to musli.com and then you could basically add that extension on your Chrome browser. So every time you add a new tab, you will get design inspirations displayed for you. So it's a quick little feature that you could keep handy. All right. So if you don't have any questions, thanks for joining today. So now the session will be taken over by the career advisor. Okay. So there's just one last question. Sir, what are the best tools to learn UI/UX design? So I would suggest you don't try to learn tools at a very early stage, but for you to try to execute some of the problems, you could probably try to use Adobe XD. Adobe XD is free to use. And then there's another tool called Figma. So Figma is free for 30 days to use. So these are some free tools that you could get started with. Figma is a tool that is being widely used in the market currently, and this also helps with all the process through the design, like prototyping and also the UX processes that I told you, the research and research analysis. All those flows and charts can be built using Figma itself. They have ready-made templates available, so you could leverage use of all of that using Figma. Okay. What is wireframing? So wireframing is basically a blueprint of the design that you want to build. So blueprint is something that, okay, normally a blueprint is something that you refer to for, say for example, an architect will have a blueprint of drawings to understand how the house is going to look like. The same way you will have a blueprint, a skeleton or very rough sketches of your app so that you understand the structure, and it would basically be guiding principles for you to build the UI design. Okay, so if there are no other questions, all right, thanks everyone for joining. I think the career advisor will take over from here. Thanks.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is Soumya from Intellipaat. So on behalf of our company, I'm going to provide you the complete details for the UI UX of by IIT Guwahati. So if someone is having any question at the end of this meeting, so you can raise your hand and you can unmute yourself and you can ask about your question. Okay. So yeah, so first thing is that we are going to provide you this program by IIT Guwahati, that is Electronics and ICT Academy of IIT Guwahati. And the program name is Advanced Certification in UI UX Design Strategy. Okay. So we'll start with this curriculum, like what we are going to cover in this part. So first thing, that is the main thing, that you will be having a IIT certification after this program. So you will be the IIT certified at the end of this program. So this is the compulsory and this is the main thing, like this is the main benefit which you are having with this program. Okay. Now I'll move to the curriculum part. Already UI UX complete information you already got from a trainer. So now I'm going to explain that how this like the topics which he covered in his training, now how you're going to cover it in this curriculum. So in this curriculum, we'll start with the preparatory sessions in which you will get to know that what is UI UX exactly, and how you can develop UI UX, how you can develop website, how can use a UI and UX also. Then they will move to the second module, that is user centered design process. Then third module will be there, that is user research, designing interaction. So from the first module till the fourth module, you will be getting the complete knowledge that how you can use those things in your career and futures, how you can design, how you can research, how you can like add on new pointers. Then they will move to the fifth module, that is fundamentals of UI, heuristics and interaction design, elementary sketching and wireframing, low high fidelity design, understand style guides, elements prototyping, usability evaluation, interaction with development team, and product design. So these all will be the 11 modules. I'm not going very deep in these topics because some of the person are here who are the freshers, so they will get to know from the basic till the advanced. So that's why I'm just overviewing this complete curriculum. So you don't need to worry if you are a fresher also or you are an experienced person in this webinar who are taking this webinar. So that's not a problem if you are the fresher. So they will start from the scratch and basics. If you are already an experienced person in the same UI UX, so we have two batches. One is for the professional and one is for the freshers. So you will put in the batches accordingly to your status of like if you are a fresher or you are an experienced person. Okay, so this is the complete curriculum what we are going to provide. So this complete curriculum will be taught by the IIT Guwahati faculty. Okay, and with this curriculum part for the UI UX, what is the main thing, that are the case studies. Because at the time of interview, at the time of applicant, like if you are applying for a job or for an interview, so obviously theoretical knowledge will be needed there also, but on the behalf of case studies you can ask about your salary. Because as a UI UX designer you have to complete your case studies more than like more case studies, so you will be getting the more salary. So also as a fresher, also as an experienced person, if you are having a, if you're carrying a complete case studies and projects with you at the time of job application, so you will be the person who can who will be the having the priority. Okay, so we are going to help you in the project work also. If you can just see at the top of the website, so there is a mention that 20 plus industry projects and case studies we are providing. So these are the projects which will be going to help you in this curriculum part also. Like once you're done with your classes, theoretical parts, so after that you have to present yourself in the practical way also. Right, so you have to work on those projects and case studies as well. So once you're done with your projects and case studies, you will be having the experience letter also from our side. Okay, so now 50 plus live session, that's a 7-month course this is. Then IIT Guwahati faculty will be there for the theoretical part, and the persons who are working in the same industry from 15 to 20 years, who are carrying 15 to 20 years of experience, they are going to help you in your project work and case studies. And 20 plus case studies and project work will be there for this course. One-to-one mentorship will be there, like your classes are on Saturday and Sunday from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. But still, if you are having any problem or any question regarding the course in the weekdays also, so we do provide the 24 into 7 support system. So you can call back us and we will arrange a video session for you, and you can ask about your questions and queries at any time. Then today's campus immersion is also there. So even if you want to go to the IIT Guwahati, you want to like ask about your experience and something, so you can go there and you can discuss about like with the faculty. You can like have a knowledge about everything. So today's campus immersion, that is also provided by the Intellipaat. Okay. So this is the complete thing. Now I'll show you the certification. This is the certification which you will be getting. Okay, so this is that is mentioned that IIT Guwahati. This is to certify that your name and advanced certification in UI UX design strategy. So this is how your certificate will be looked after this course. Okay, and how they are going to help you, because see, after IIT certification you can update this IIT certification on your LinkedIn profile, on your resume. So that's why you will be getting the direct offers from the companies, because you will be the person who is carrying the IIT certificate. Okay, now from the Intellipaat, we do provide the complete knowledge, and after that we are providing the job assistance too. So before this, I just want to show you that these are the faculties who are going to take your classes and the complete program. So he's also associate professor in IIT Guwahati, Dr. Kevar Surathia, and Mr. Rajendra Chandel. He is UX design leader at CL Technology. So these two person are the main head. And if you want to check, so you can check your LinkedIn in their LinkedIn profile also. You can see the once I linked with their photo, so they will directly connect to the LinkedIn profile. So even if you want to check their LinkedIn profile, you can directly go there and you can check their profile also. Okay, so Now, how Intellipaat is going to help you in the career services. So see, we provide you the resume building with your IIT certification. We will provide you the LinkedIn profile updation with the IIT certification. And after that, we are going to provide you 3 guaranteed interviews with minimum, like if you are experienced person, so you can expect 30% of salary hike. And if you are fresher, so for a UI UX designer, the 8 to 10, that will be the like 8 to 10 LPA. That is the starting salary for a fresher of UI UX also. Okay, so between 5 to 10 you can expect as a fresher also. That's not an issue. So in this, how we are going to help you, that we will provide you the 3 guaranteed interviews for the same thing. Okay, it's totally up to you that how you are going to crack the interview. If you are attending 80% of classes in this, and you are completing your assignments and project work, everything, so you will be able to get a very good job very easily at the end of this program. Okay, so, and these are the companies, and these are our alumni, in which you can just like we are having 400 plus partners for the job and placement. So you can go with this, and you can just like see that how the companies are going to help us. We are having our job portal, so the Intellipaat job portal is also there, so you can see that how many reputed companies we are having. Okay, so this is about the complete program. So this is our fees part thing, 75,000 plus GST. So it comes under around 88,000. That will be the fees. So that's not an issue if someone is interested. So we can go ahead and we can talk about the experience and everything, and then we can give you some discount also. Okay, so this is about the complete details of program. Now I'll get back to you, and you can just tell me that if anyone is having any issue, so you can ask me. Yeah, if someone is having any issue, so like please just raise your hand. So guys, I'm dropping my phone number and mail ID in the chat box. So I'll ask Jed for the same. He will drop my mail ID and phone number in the chat box. So if you anyone wants to join the program, so you can connect me directly on my WhatsApp number or on my mail ID also. Okay, so I'm winding up this meeting. I guess there is some network issue from Jay's side. So if anyone is having any questions or any doubt, so you can ask me directly. Okay.